It's 10 o'clock. It's time for the council in session. Mr. Ridley Thomas is here. We have 2 members present. We need 8 more per quorum. 20 minutes after 10. We have Mr. Alatorre, Mrs. Chick, Mr. Fuhrer, Ms. Mistakowski, Mr. Ridley Thomas. We have 6 members present. We need 4 for a quorum. Sergeant, can you see if you can find the 4 members?
Call the roll.
Alatorre, Burnson, Chick, Fuhrer, Galante, Goldberg, Hernandez, Holden, Misakowski, Ridley Thomas, Fornich, Wax, Walters, Ferraro, 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, the council will please come to order. This is a meeting of the City Council for the City of Los Angeles on the second day of June 1999. There are 15 council districts in the city. The regular meeting days are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We are currently being viewed by cable subscribers throughout the Los Angeles area on Channel 35, and we're also being monitored by council phone. The first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Holden moves, Mr. Hernandez seconds. There's no objections, unanimous vote. The next item,
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
if there's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item,
Before beginning the regular agenda, Mr. President, you have 2 items to continue. Item number 2, Council District 9 has requested that that be continued 1 week to June 9th.
if there's no objections, that will be the order. Next item,
Item number 20, Council District 6 has requested that that be continued 2 weeks to June 16th.
item 26,
Item 20.
item 20. If there's no objections, unanimous vote.
Next item, Mr. President, you have a confirmation of city officials. Item number 8, confirm Jorge Castro to the Metropolitan Water District Board of Directors.
Okay. Is Ms. Glanner here? We had a committee meeting this morning, and we unanimously approved
That's for a
the
night vote.
appointment of, wait till I speak, will you?
I figured it.
But anyway, it was a unanimous vote, and Mr. Alatorre has moved and to confirm George Castro to the Metropolitan Water District. Any discussion? If not, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
George, you've been approved, and we want to thank you for serving the city. He has served in the past, but for a different agency, and now he's representing the city of Los Angeles. And we wish you well, and don't listen to Alatorre too much.
Thank you very much. I look
Miss-
forward to working with all of you.
Thank you. We'll send that forthwith. Ms. Goldberg?
Announcement.
Yes.
It's with great pride that I joined my colleague, Mr. Alatorre, in welcoming 2 fifth-grade classes from Murchison Elementary School. And you may wonder why CD13 is introducing them. It's because my nephew, David Goldberg, is the teacher, and I'm very proud of him, and I'm very proud of his fifth-grade class.
That's Art's-
And the other, that's my brother's son, my brother and sister-in-law's son. And David, the other teacher's Mr. Richardson. Would Mr. Richardson and Mr. Goldberg and the 2 classes of fifth graders from Murchison please stand up?
Yes.
Let's welcome them to City Hall. I've enjoyed meeting with them. They presented me with a list of their problems and their suggested solutions, and colleagues, I will type them up and pass them around.
We'll have
They
those
have
done-
some
we'll have
very
those-
good ideas.
We'll have all those problems solved by the end of the day.
Absolutely, but I want to thank them and tell them that I hope they enjoy their visit to City Hall, and also that you enjoy your visit to the other places in downtown Los Angeles that you're visiting. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Goldberg.
Mr. President, just very quickly, Murchison is really just truly a great school. It's one of the best schools in Los Angeles, and I know Mr. Goldberg, I know your father, and if you're half a man, you're half of what your father is, you're all right. But I congratulate you, and I thank you and welcome you to the city council and the city hall. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alatorre. Mr. Holden, you have an introduction.
Mr. President, members, we have a counselor of Koyang City from Korea, Mr. Lee Yang-sung, and his delegation. We have them stand and welcome them to the city of Los Angeles and hope that they enjoy a pleasant and successful visit. Kamsahamnida.
Thank you, Mr. Holden, and welcome to Los Angeles. Okay, the next item.
Items noticed for public hearings. Item 1 is a Planning and Land Use Committee report that's been submitted to council.
Okay, we have Gordon Murley that wants to be heard. Your time is up.
Well, thank you. That's more time you usually give me. President Ferraro, Council, we're here today because we have some problems, and we said this yesterday in the Plum Committee. We're here today because city departments didn't inform or do what legally they were bound to do, and therefore the city did something in not moving a general plan amendment and the zone change at the same time. Therefore, we're here. And we have asked questions, and we still don't have answers from either the planning department or the city attorney's office. And we've asked. We've read both the Subdivision Map Act and we've read CEQA. And we do not find anywhere where you can submit, as the planning department says, as many tentative tract maps on a piece of property as you wish. Nowhere in CEQA do we find that you are allowed to put two different projects in the same EIR. We think that the public is in double jeopardy if this is to be allowed, because every developer will come in with as many different ideas and want to put everything he can into one EIR, which makes it very difficult for both the council offices and the public to know what is happening. We respectfully ask that you make it so that either we are given the codes and the justification for these things, or that you deny that they can have both a commercial project and a residential project on the same property at the same time under tentative maps, and that they can put in a EIR, two complete separate developments intermingled, so it's very difficult to see what it is. And we think in the public interest that you need to allow the public to know where the justifications are legally that the city can do this, because the very same people that are telling you, oh, you can do it, are the very ones who made this particular project come back because they didn't do the things that were legally required when this project originally came before this city council. Therefore, the court said you didn't follow your own rules. So we respectfully ask that you uphold the public interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, public comment is closed. Mrs. Chick. Or you want? Okay, Ms. Sikowski.
Mr. President, yesterday the Planning and Land Use Management Committee held a hearing on this, and I'd like to ask the staff to come forward and present the basic issues in the case. Mr. Sutton and Mr. Sedgwick and the city attorney.
Is that skinny Bob?
Skinny Bob.
How much have you lost, Bob?
27 pounds. I weigh what I did in high school.
Oh, right.
Yes, Mr. President, members of council, Jack Sedgwick, City Planning. This is a revisit of the Warner Ridge project, which council had done a settlement agreement on numerous years ago. The project's approximately 21 plus acres. The northerly portion of the site is in a C4 zone, and that's the area we're talking about really today. The southerly 5.5 acres is part of a residential development. The settlement agreement provided 125 units on the R4 at the southerly portion of the property. It provided 690,000 square feet of commercial development on the northerly portion of the property. The project before you is an alternative to the commercial development that had previously been dealt with in queue conditions, standards, and in the development agreement. Under the current alternative, a residential project is proposed on 14.7 acres net. It would be a density of 30.9 units per acre, and this is a density that would be commensurate with that allowed on the property to the south. The project as proposed would be no more than 75 feet in height. The establishment of the grade will be done through a future review, and there's a site plan requirement that we would put them through so that we're able to evaluate the line of sight from the residential development to the south and from the single-family homes nearby. The project includes changes to the standards. We've established standards for the residential development. There's a 10-foot easterly buffer along the side between the project and Pierce College. Extensive landscaping is required. There would be no access between this residential project and the project under construction, the 125 units. There would be access exiting the project to DeSoto. Any access between the two residential projects would only be a emergency access. 454 units are proposed. Parking would vary depending if they built apartments or if they built condos. Condominiums would require 2 plus a half space for guest parking. Any apartment would be code plus a half space. There's a provision for the Neighborhood Protection Fund, $160,000, which is part of the previous change to the development agreement. The let's see, some ancillary business uses would be allowed since it is still in a commercial zone. They would be able to have business uses not to exceed 5,000 feet, daycare, recreational facilities, health facilities. The development agreement does deal with the credits under the existing judgment. 4 million in credits were awarded to the applicant based on yesterday's meeting. They've indicated with the residential alternative that they would reduce that to 3 million. My understanding is that does not include any credits they've already received, and it would not include credits towards Quimby, school fees, or DOT mitigation measures. I think I'll pass that from here to either the city attorney or Mr. Sutton.
With regard, Deputy City Attorney Mary Dennis, with regard to the extension of fee credits in the development agreement that's being placed before you this morning, the original development agreement was pursuant to a judgment, a settlement of a previous lawsuit in which the original commercial development and the development of the 5-acre parcel would have $4 million worth of credits towards processing fees given to the developer as he developed the property in that manner. Under the new development agreement, he is proposing a residential alternative of 454 dwelling units. Pursuant to our understanding at the Planning and Land Use Committee meeting yesterday, the developer has agreed that he will take $3 million worth of credits, and that does not take into account any deduction for credits previously used if he chooses to develop the property with the residential alternative of 454 dwelling units.
Ms. Misakowski?
The committee did hold a hearing yesterday. We clarified some of the issues that were raised in the public hearing, such issues as although the residential project as proposed has a lower height limit than the commercial property, there was concern about from which elevation that would be measured, and we did indicate that it should be measured from the same general elevation point. There were other issues that were clarified, that the credit, the fees that were going to be credited would not include the fees that deal with Quimby. That still has to be paid. Did not include the fees that have to be paid and all the issues related to traffic mitigation. That still has to be done by the developer's own financing. And the school fees, those still have to be paid. So that the only credit for fees were the credit for fees of processing plans and engineering designs, et cetera, through the city. And the city did, the committee understood that those fees for credit were part of the settlement in the old Warner Ridge case, which otherwise might have been due to be paid by the city in attorney's fees. So the credit still should be passed through on this property, whether it's residential or commercial. Members of the council, this is a project with a long history in the city. that early on the city council was told by generally the community that they preferred a residential project. When the city council in the late 80s, early 90s tried to pursue a residential project and allow only that on the property, the city was sued successfully because the zoning was commercial and the community plan said commercial, and the council was not able to pursue the residential-only project. Now that we have the residential project being proposed by the developer, I think it is much more consistent with what the community has always asked for, and I think it's something that we ought to encourage. The question about whether or not 2 subdivisions can be filed, the city attorney has advised that the subdivision code is silent on it. It doesn't speak to the matter, but it does not preclude it. What it does preclude is that only one map can be recorded. So I think the easier we make it, the path for a residential project to be pursued, that is the track that will be recorded, and that is the one that is most consistent with what the surrounding community has long asked for. So based on those details and those issues that were changed yesterday, where the accommodations were made in the development agreement with the city planning staff and the city attorney, I recommend an approval and the adoption of the committee report, which allows the residential project to go forward.
Mrs. Chick?
Yes, thank you, colleagues. This is a happy day for the city and for my district. Although there are neighbors adjacent to the property that probably have always wished that it would remain open, we learned through a very difficult and arduous path that property owners, and property owners in this case, have rights to develop their property. It's a happy ending because the neighborhood never wanted a commercial project, and it never should have been a commercial project. Not far away from this property is one of the commercial center gems of the city of Los Angeles, Warner Center, that was created to take commercial development and to have it concentrated there. The demarcation line was always DeSoto. And in addition, as our economy is picked up, this is an area that very much is in need of additional housing, quality housing, whether it be quality rental or quality condominium ownership. This project is going to be an amenity to the immediate neighborhood, to the West Valley, and to the city of Los Angeles. So I ask for your unanimous vote. I want to thank my colleagues on the Plum Committee for dealing with some of the technicalities that needed to be smoothed out. The property owner, the developer, has scaled down the project by 20-some-odd units, and I truly feel this is going to be a project that I will be proud of, and we should all feel very good to finally have closure on what was a very tumultuous and nasty lawsuit, one that set uncomfortable precedents for the city, but has produced what the community always wanted, and that is a quality residential project on Warner Ridge. I thank you for your votes.
Okay. We have item number 1, the committee report and the ordinance. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. We'll send that forthwith. We send that forthwith. Next item.
Items 2 and 3 are comments on application of determination of public convenience or necessity.
Item 2 was continued, wasn't it?
No, item 7 was continued.
Item 7?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 and 3. Do we have any discussion on those? We need a motion, approve on both of those. Prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item.
Item number 4 is ordinances on 2 street lighting projects. One is to deny the protest and levy assessment. The other is to find that there's a majority assessment and abandon the lighting district.
Item number 4. Is there anybody that wants to be heard on item 4? Ms. Galanter, this is to deny the protest, and item 4, Cindy? Were there, did you say there were signatures to deny?
Yeah, on 4B is to deny the protest and levy the assessment, and number 4B is to find that there's a majority protest and abandon the project.
Okay, we have item A, which is to deny the protest and confirm the assessment. And Ms. Glanter moves, and on item B is to, there's a majority protest, so it's to deny the project. And Ms. Sikowski moves on that, so prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That's approved. A is the ordinance is approved also, and B is denied. Next item.
Item number 5 is also an assessment and to confirm the assessment on the sewer improvement. And recommendation number 2 should say sewer improvement.
Okay, Ms. Sikowski moves on item number 5, so prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. The ordinance is also approved. And item number 6.
Item number 6 is a zone change in Council District 15.
Any discussion on item number 6? If not, prepare the roll on item number 6. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
And that is approved. It includes the ordinance. Next item.
Next item, Mr. President, items for which public hearings have been held, items 9 through 20.
On 12, 15. Any others?
I need a motion on items 10 and 17. There's one signature on the file.
Mr. Alatorre moves.
And also, number 19 is submitted without recommendation.
19 is a motion has been made. So anybody, we don't, these are not, public hearings have been held. Okay, we have 2, or rather 12, 13, 14, 15.
12 is special.
Yeah, I know. Those are the ones we call special. 12, 14, and 15. And anybody want any other specials? If not, prepare the roll on the balance. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Forthwith on 19. Next item.
Items for which public hearings have not been held, items 21 through 27.
All right, is there any specials first?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody want to be heard on any of those items? We have no cards.
Item 25,
So
I'd like
the
to...
public hearing is closed. Item 25,
I'd like to have that referred to Budget and Finance.
is there any objections to referring 25 to Budget and Finance? Seeing none, that will be the order. 27 is called special. Any other specials? So we have 21 through 27 with the exception of 25, which is referred to committee, and 27, which is called special. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item.
Item number 12, called special by Councilmember Wax.
Mr.
Able to vote no, Mr. President.
Okay. Okay, item number 12 is before us. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes, 1 no.
That is approved. Forthwith on that item. Next item.
Item number 14, special by Councilmember Goldberg.
Ms. Goldberg, you call for 14 special?
Yeah, I heard this in committee, and I just looked through my notes. Where is this company located?
Delaware.
That seems to be the place. $200,000 from DLO of Delaware. Do we know where this company is located? Yeah. It's not a big issue, but somebody called me and asked me, and I thought, it's odd that in all of the material that was presented, I'd have no address for this company.
What's the name of the company? Resource? The
It's-
Resource Company?
It's,
If we could hold it on the table, maybe we could get someone from the
okay,
CLA's
it's,
office.
Let's hold it on the
Team
table.
Resources. The Resources Company. Okay. It's,
I need someone from
all right.
Smith. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll hold it on the
hold
table
on
for
to
the end. It's
this.
not a big issue. It's just something I was curious about, though, that to get a whole bunch of information about a
All
company
right.
without its address on
Okay,
it.
the next item is 15. Mr. Wax, did you call 15 special? Mr. Hernandez? Mr. Hernandez, there is somebody that wants to be heard on 15,
Mr. President,
but I know there was a public hearing already.
yeah, then I'll initiate a motion to ask for a 3-minute public hearing.
Okay, is there any objection to the 3-minute public hearing? If not, Ron Martinez? Ron Martinez?
Can I have,
Sergeant, would you pass those out?
I've got your battery charger. I'm all set. Something bothered me. I'm waiting for something for a veteran. Okay. Thank you, members of
Your
the...
time is running.
Thank you, President Ferraro and members of the council for providing us with the opportunity to present this appeal today regarding this contract recommendation. We are here for the second time because once again, the process was tainted. The first time it was determined that the head of the task force that reviewed the written proposals had a conflict of interest. Councilmember Ridley Thomas on April 14th introduced a motion that was real clear. It simply said, assemble a new panel, review the written proposals as originally submitted. Councilman Fuhr seconded that motion, and we applauded that motion. We thought it was fair because it leveled the playing field. What happened thereafter with the new panel flies in the face of the process that this council unanimously voted on. CDD added oral interviews to the process. We cried foul. We said that that memo that we just passed out, dated February 5th, which was drafted by the person that had the conflict of interest, would leak into and contaminate the new process. We told that to the city attorney. We asked the city attorney to sit in the oral interviews. They rejected that notion. We asked them to provide a specific instruction. They rejected that. We asked them to audio tape the oral interviews. They rejected that. We went to CDD, asked them to audio tape it. They said they would do that. They said, in fact, the new panel insisted that they be audio taped. We walked into the oral interview and they were not audio taped. So that didn't happen. But however, we don't need an audio tape. We just have to follow the paper trail here, and it provides us with the linkages as to what happened. Like I said, we gladly agreed with the motion because we knew we had written the best proposal. That document dated February 5th tells us that behavioral got it wrong the first time. It provides specific instructions to behavioral to change their methodology. They got it wrong. Their approach was the wrong approach. Their staffing levels had to be changed. There's substantial changes. They simply got it wrong. That's why we agreed to the motion that was passed by the council. What happened later is we know that behavioral submitted a written response in response to that February 5th memorandum. We know that it was incorporated into the written proposal, but we can't prove that because CDD won't give us a copy of behavioral's written proposal. But we don't need a written proposal because we can simply see that the process was tainted. The content of that memo leaked through via the oral interviews.
Okay, Ron,
The presentation, yeah, I think it's very pertinent to...
Okay. If you say so, Mr. Alatorre.
Okay. If you look at and you have this in the transmittal, there's a May 20th memo from the evaluation panel. It says that the panel asked for consistent core questions plus specific information to clarify the individual proposals. That's how the information got in. They asked for clarification on the methodology, they asked for clarification on the staffing, and that's how they enhanced their proposals through that oral interview. Enhance, clarify, enhance. It's a distinction without a difference. It's bid enhancement. And that flies in the face of the motion passed by this council. Behavioral was the only bidder that was provided with written notice of its deficiencies. The oral interview put everyone except behavioral at a competitive disadvantage. You look at that memo by the evaluation panel, it specifically says behavioral had the best balance of staffing pattern. That contradicts the memo you're looking at there. It says that they had the best data collection. That contradicts the memo. They enhanced their proposal, and you can see it in the paperwork drives it. The city attorney may come up here and say the process was fair. The documentation reflects that the city attorney was involved in the review of the process established by the panel. That's it. They went to the first meeting. They did not monitor the implementation. We asked them, and if they sanctioned the oral interviews, they should have monitored the implementation of the oral interviews. They refused to do so. They cannot at this point conclude that the process was fair because they simply were not there, even though we pleaded with them to be there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We had some other person, but they're in favor, so there's been a public hearing. So Mr. Hernandez, I'm going to call on for you first.
Mr. President, members of the council, I wanted to point out a real basic thing, and we all took part in the debate we had prior to, on this item prior, and the city attorney basically did declare a conflict. And in that debate, we basically asked that an objective panel be put together to review the RFPs, to review the proposals. We did not ask that they have oral interviews. And that basically is what tainted this process again, because the city attorney was not present during the oral interviews, and it allowed for the presenters to change it. Now, I want to bring that out because part of our problem is every time we change a process, and I have to be upfront with you and tell you that I had nothing to do with the development of this new process, but the chairman of the committee did. And the new process allowed for oral interviews, and the reality is now we're here before, and again, there's an appeal base. I did have a representative at those oral interviews. And what my representative came back to me and said, one entity, the one that's being recommended, put an emphasis on research, on going in and researching what's going on. The other entity, the one that's appealing, put an emphasis on evaluation, evaluating the program, and by looking at the schools where we have an Allied Bridges program versus schools that we don't have an Allied Bridges program. And where they were criticized was on the staffing. So one entity was allowed to make adjustments on staffing. Now, the reason I want to bring that issue up is because from the very beginning, whether it was Mr. Fuhr, or Ms. Chick, or Mr. Ridley Thomas, or myself, we've always talked about having an evaluation of a program. Basically being able to show how this program is credible and what its successes are about. We weren't talking about a research project. And how do you evaluate something if you don't compare it against a school that doesn't have a Bridges program? If you're not looking at those kids. Now, to me, what we were looking for is credibility. Now, I think we've gotten lost. The reason I think Mr. Martinez continues to question the process is because he is telling us from the very beginning that this process was not tainted to produce the kind of result we were asking for as a council. Now, I basically don't know how do you solve this problem, because there is a question of tainting. And the reality is, I don't think that the proposal that's before us today, that is being recommended today by the committee, is basically going to allow us to have a fair, credible evaluation. What it will do is research our project. And it's going to be, again, a misnomer on the public, because we have been saying the Allied Bridges program has to have a credible evaluation. And that evaluation has to be measured, and you got to be able to compare it. And I'm not sure that's what's going to happen in this process. And again, I plan to vote no on this recommendation, and I'm asking that it basically be reviewed again. But let's do it the way we said it should be done, without the oral interviews. Let's just look at the RFPs, let's look at the proposals, let's look at what they put in writing, and let's not taint the process.
All right, thank you. Ms. Goldberg?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the city attorney a couple of questions about the process. Good morning. How you doing? The questions I have are whether or not the motion, which I was present at, that we discussed, which said that we really wanted people to look at the written proposals as originally submitted with a new panel because we felt that there had been some potential conflicts on the previous panel. Do you remember that part of it? Were you involved at that point?
No.
Okay. Well, we had come to the conclusion that there was a potential for some conflict.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
And rather than to just go ahead, we said we don't want to have anything changed. We want to keep the same proposals as they were written. And we want to just have a new panel, which we can assure ourselves that there were no conflicts to review that stuff. Do you know why they added an oral interview?
Well, it's my understanding that there was a desire to replicate the previous process, and that since the previous process included oral interviews, that oral interviews would be included in this case. It's within the panel, the department has the flexibility to include oral interviews in a process of this type. The persons who participated in the evaluation of the written proposal and who conducted the oral interviews did not know at any time prior to their decision being made what the outcome of the recommendations of the previous
I understand that. I'm
panel.
not suggesting that. I'm just trying to find out about process here. So the second question I have is do we, when someone requests that oral interview tapes be made, do we usually honor such requests?
Well, two things. One, it's my understanding that the interview panel in this case did not request a taping.
But if a bidder wants to make sure that the process could be reviewed?
As a general rule, it's my understanding that we do not.
We do not, even if some bidder says, I'd really like to make sure this process is fair.
That's my understanding.
Well, I think that we ought to look into that for the future as well. I think obviously if a bidder is worried about unfair treatment, they request that tapes be made. I don't think that's something that we should deny them. The next question I have is that the city attorney's office did not monitor the interviewing process. Is that correct?
That's correct.
See, I think the problem that we're having here.
Well, I'm sorry, excuse
Yeah.
me, Councilwoman. When you say monitor.
Sit in on.
That's correct.
Okay. So without tapes and without sitting it, and a city attorney sitting in on it, when we have a controversy already about whether or not there's bid enhancement going on, and that was the original charge originally, as well as conflict of interest. We're left in a situation with one side saying, I know it happened, but I can't prove it, and we can't prove it didn't happen.
All right,
We
Miss-
can't review a tape or have a city attorney say,
All right,
I was
Miss-
there,
Miss-
there was no bid enhancement. I think that's a real
All
problem.
right, Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, members of the council, I think the question being posed by Ms. Goldberg of the line of reasoning ought to be pursued, and I would simply ask if the city attorney can speak to that office's view of whether or not the process was tainted in view of the fact that it was the city attorney's office that recommended that the process be reviewed, that is, that we disregard the previous recommendations, set forth a new panel, et cetera. And members of the council, I think you'll recall that. And so the question that relates to whether or not the city attorney was in the meetings and overseeing the process is one that has already been responded to, but I think it should be appreciated that the process was followed pursuant to city attorney recommendations, and in the committee, the question was raised repeatedly to the city attorney's office as to whether or not that office's view was the fact that the process itself was fair. And I think, members of the council, all of us should be knowledgeable at that point, and perhaps, Ms. Snowden, you would advise the council as to the city attorney's office's views on the fairness of the process. Was there anything that was in violation of the spirit or the intent of the motion, and any other issues that might allay concerns that any one of the bidders was unfairly disadvantaged?
For the record, I'm Pamela Snowden, Deputy City Attorney. The City Attorney's Office is completely satisfied that this process was fair. With regard to the bid enhancement issue, bid enhancement is really a term that's not quite applicable in this situation. That's a term that arose in connection with the sealed bid process. This is a negotiated procurement, which is more flexible, which is a much more flexible process. And in the course of a negotiated procurement, the city may, in fact, seek clarification without that being a bid enhancement. It's not generally the policy for the city attorney to sit in on interviews or to be involved in the process other than to make sure that the process as it has been set forth is a fair process. The process in a negotiated procurement is for our benefit to get the best service for the best price. The city has the obligation to be fair and avoid conflicts. But beyond that, we have the discretion to design the process, to do it the city's way for the city's benefit. We feel that it was legally proper to conduct the oral interviews in an effort to duplicate the previous process. We feel that there is no legal deficiency in the lack of tape recording. We feel that there's no evidence that any bid enhancement occurred, and we're satisfied that this was a fair process.
All right. Mr. Fuhr.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the committee, we asked questions about the process in some depth. And what I'd like to do is review the process with our city attorney and request any corrections be made to my understanding of events. The council reviewed the process through which the prior determination went and determined that it was possible that that process was tainted, didn't make the determination it was, just that it was possible, and asked that the process be redone.
Yes, Councilman, and it had to do with conflict of interest as opposed to a bid enhancement.
Correct. Okay, fair enough. So we reconstituted a panel to review the competing bids and eliminated from the panel the individual who was alleged to have a potential conflict. That reconstituted panel reviewed the written submission and conducted oral interviews. In the first instance, there had been written submissions reviewed and oral interviews conducted. And the reconstituted panel was attempting, from our committee hearing, and you were going to get this again today, to replicate the process that had gone away in the first place, right?
That's correct.
All right. So in reviewing in going through the determination and replicating the process to avoid the taint that otherwise would have attached to the prior oral interviews, conducting a new oral interview, the determination was made to select the contractor whose recommendation is before us today. The allegation that was made in committee, in addition to what I've just gone through, was that by asking the contractor who was selected to report earlier on in its process than otherwise had been asked for, That was alleged to be some kind of a problem in this. But as I recall in committee, you and others indicated that all that was being done was, having selected the contractor, we were asking for an earlier report from that contractor. It didn't represent a change in the RFP, which we always retain the unilateral ability to do. We get a contract, say, tell us sooner than otherwise was asked for how you're doing, right?
That's correct. The request for an earlier report was not a condition of selection.
Right, okay. Having reviewed the process at a lengthy hearing in committee, and listened with great care to Mr. Martinez's allegations that the process this time around was also clouded, and yet come to the conclusion unanimously in committee that the process was appropriate, a statement that was mirrored by that of the city attorney. I'd like to urge us to move forward already. Recall in the last budget that we just went through, the mayor indicated that there'd be no more funding for LA's bridges until there could be an evaluation conducted. That approach makes some sense.
Okay,
But goodness knows, we don't want to go through another year of haggling over the process, avoiding an evaluation, and preventing meaningful gang prevention intervention from happening on our streets. I move approval.
All right, Mr. Alatorre.
Mr. President and members, now, can you tell me, you are aware that all council meetings, committee meetings and the like are recorded, is that correct? You're aware of that?
Yes.
City council proceedings are also, any hearings and the like are recorded. Now, what I have great difficulty in is that obviously there was a great deal of controversy the last time around. Now, it seems to me that what we were asking for was a squeaky clean process so that there could never be any insinuation that there was anything that was wrong with the process. Now, you know who made the complaint? Now, it seems to me that you would have gone over and above the call to make sure that nobody could complain that the process was fair or unfair, that everybody would agree that it was on a level playing field and the like. But because of our unwillingness, and I want to know who made the decision and why couldn't, just as a point of view of fact, why couldn't the hearings have been recorded? So that all of us do not have to second guess anybody as to whether in fact there was objectivity involved. Now, who made the decision after requests were made to have, number one, the hearing recorded, and number two, to have some presence from the city attorney's office?
I do not know who made the decision not to record. I just know that it's not a legal requirement of this process.
I understand it's not, but ma'am, we also, this wasn't just a normal routine item. It was already, at least, by one of the proposers and several of the proposers, they felt that it wasn't a very fair process. So it seems to me that we have done everything that we can so that we are not put in the middle of this situation again as we are today, that it wasn't. Now, this was an evaluation, not a research project. Is that correct?
That's my
All
understanding.
right, so do you want to comment on the fact that there was greater weight that was played to the person that had a better research proposal versus an evaluation mechanism? Do you have any comment on that?
Perhaps someone from the department could comment on.
No, well, then maybe somebody from the department can comment.
The evaluators, Mr. Alatorre, might best be able to respond
Well,
to
that's
that.
what I'm asking. I mean, fine.
Well,
Whoever it is.
The CLA, the CAO.
No, wait. Mark,
Those are the evaluators.
fine.
Okay.
I don't know who the evaluators were. Maybe somebody can come up and tell us.
Is there somebody from the department here?
Well, the evaluation
Well,
panel,
just ask the department. It's my time.
Yeah.
the panel should come forward, I think.
Okay, your time is up, Mr. Alatorre. So you'll have to press your button again.
Right.
I'm going to call on Mrs. Chick.
Up where Mr. Alatorre left off, because I did want to hear from the panel. Particularly, I know Ms. Steele has been working on this. So I'm going to hold my comments, and if you would perhaps explain and respond to some of the questions and points raised in terms of the process and how the decision was made, including anything about the enhancement of it.
My name is Judy Steele. I'm with the Chief Legislative Analyst's Office.
Robert Andrade with the CAO.
Morgan Lyons with Lodestar Management Research.
I'd like to say about our participation. We were counseled by the city attorney at every phase of our participation in this process. We had the original proposals that were submitted. We read those proposals and evaluated them. We drew our questions exclusively from those proposals. There were no additional documents, no additional information added to those proposals, and we controlled the interviews to be specific to the proposals that were submitted. We made the decision as a group that we didn't want the interviews taped. We were told that we didn't have to, and that was the decision that we made. All of our questions were specific to the RFP, and none of us had any prior information about these proposals. And the three of us independently came to the same rankings and the same conclusions about who should be awarded the contract.
Okay, Mrs. Chick?
Yeah, thank you. Colleagues, it's always difficult when we are presented with the belief from someone who didn't receive a contract that the process is tainted. And it is why I believe I, as well as my colleagues, the chair of the committee, quickly moved to redo the process. Something I felt rather badly about to begin with, since I had played a role in helping to choose someone who was on that original panel and whom I still believe and will always believe put his best foot forward as a former dean of the USC School of Social Work to help the city come up with a really quality evaluation program. But since there were complaints, we felt that it was important to go back and redo it. I have a feeling that we could redo this 2 or 3 more times, and that unless the decision was reversed, we would continue to have complaints that the process wasn't done properly. I believe so strongly that we must go forward with this. From the beginning, I have been pounding about how the city has to evaluate its service programs to make sure, something government isn't always so good at, to make sure that we are spending precious tax dollars well and that our programs, specifically ones looking to help our young people, to turn them away from lives of crime, to keep them on the right path, are being done effectively. I want to remind my colleagues that, about 4 or 5 years ago, we were, I think, somewhat highly pressured to allocate, along with the county and the state, millions and millions and millions of dollars to gang prevention programs, Hope in Youth. You ask yourselves, where is that program and where those dollars went? We had an evaluation program of that was a sham. And I think we had an evaluation program of LA Bridges at the beginning that wasn't terribly much more valuable than the Hope in Youth evaluation. This evaluation has had an awful lot of people working on it to shape it and make it right. With somewhat of a heavy heart, because it's difficult when you hear that things could have been done better, I am highly recommending, however, that we approve what is before us. I am respectful of the people who sat on the panel again. I feel the process was as good as it could be, as good as it's ever going to be. We must move forward to evaluate this program, to ensure it's a good program, to ensure that it's one we want to continue putting money in and expanding. I ask for your vote with what's before us today.
Thank you. Mr. Holden.
Just a couple of questions. Ms. Steele,
Yes.
did you ever sit as a consultant to a committee before? I mean, as a staff person?
Yes.
Yes, right. To your knowledge, do they record all of the meetings, tape record audio?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Is there a reason for that?
That's because under the Public Information Act, the meetings of elected officials are recorded.
So
That's my understanding.
Do you think that's the right, do you have to? You think you're required to
For
do
public
this?
meetings, I agree.
Well, this is another process where it could be called a question, especially if someone should raise the question. And also further, the fact that someone has raised the issue whether or not there's been any bid enhancements raises some doubt along the way. It could erase all doubt if they had agreed to record audio, these meetings.
Right.
Don't you think so?
Perhaps.
In retrospect, sure.
Perhaps it also could raise more questions. And when we had our discussion,
Then
we were told that
Then of
we were
course,
asked if we wanted
on
to
that
do
note,
it.
then it could raise questions that we record our committee meetings, record these meetings. You know, the
We were
reason why...
advised that it wasn't
The reason why we do that is we record these meetings, as it deals with the public's financing, the public's money, is to make sure that we can cover ourselves. We have all the information, all the facts, just in case somebody file a false allegation against us. And why should we be protected? Why shouldn't your selective body be protected from someone raising an issue, raising a doubt? It's so easy to do that, to just reject, just outright, no, we will not record this. And every time I've seen, since I've been here 12 years, someone complained that they didn't get the bid, was not awarded the bid. They go back and they review it, they go back and review it. They come out worse because it appears that the staff really takes off on them, really they have a vengeance against them. And so I don't know how he's going to be benefited if you're already mad at him, even if he did the best proposal. I'm not meaning you, I'm just saying somebody's already mad at him. So I would say that I don't know what the recommendation here is going to be, but if he saw early on that there was a problem to the extent where the committee had to send it back out again, then he asked that you have audio sessions recording of the events. She'd erase all doubt. You should have done that. I mean,
we were not advised that anyone had requested audio. We were
that's
told by
different.
the city attorney that if we wanted to, we could. If we didn't want to, we didn't have to. And so
but the
we
city
just-
attorney didn't tell you that someone was raising the question. The city attorney didn't tell you that. He asked the city attorney to have you guys record it.
we were not advised, and anyone
Oh,
asked
well,
for them to.
my
be
God, that's even worse. I rest my case. I'm going to sit down.
All right. Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, one of the things that has been unanimously agreed upon from the very beginning of our effort to overhaul the city's youth at risk programs, before we conceptualized and began to implement the Bridges program, was that whatever we would do, it would have to be evaluated. In addition to that, we said accountability for public dollars was very, very important to us. No longer would we permit, Mr. President, members of the council, ourselves to be in a position of saying that we had allocated literally millions of public dollars, taxpayers' dollars, without some way of reporting on how those resources were spent and how effectively, appropriately, they were spent, with some measurable results. What we seek to do today is keep our word to our respective constituencies, namely, to deliver a program that can and should be celebrated, a program that has to cause the various nonprofit agencies, the various entities from the sectors or quarters of the city to know what's expected, evaluate them accordingly, because we cannot effectively maintain the quality of these programs absent evaluation. And so I think the delays that we have experienced are costly, and they are increasingly costly. And I don't know that we can defend further delay in this regard, and would urge us to move forward in light of the fact that we have done what the city attorney recommended, which was to reconstitute the panel. We were very clear about that with respect to those who, in whom we have confidence here in the city, staff and an outside expert. All of this was made known to everyone as to who the panel would be. All of this was made known to everyone as to who the panel would be. And it's now the time for us to move forward. We can do so defensively, and I think we're in order. And I would simply urge us to do precisely that today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Hernandez.
Mr. President, we were told who was going to be on the panel. We weren't asked. Now I want to make that point clear to start. Members of the council, I've heard some excellent arguments today, and you know, I need to share with you a little history, and I hope you can remember this history. But I had to stand up because there was a process that selected the schools that L.A. Bridges was initially going to have, and for whatever reason, that process was able to exclude the children of East L.A., of Northeast L.A., the areas where the gangs had basically created the situation that called for us to develop a program like L.A. Bridges. One of my colleagues eloquently talked about Hope for Youth, and basically one of the criticisms of that evaluation was that it was a research, that they were researching and they weren't evaluating. And then today, I'm hearing the opposite arguments again. Now, I just want you to go back to recent history, because I've had to stand up and fight to represent the people in my district to make sure they get city services, because the processes always seem to line up against them. And here you have a situation where we created a process that was tainted, and we questioned that process. And because of the questioning, we as a council, as I understood it, were telling another evaluation committee to evaluate the proposals. We did not tell them to have oral interviews. City attorney says you can do that. There's nothing that prohibits it because it's a negotiated process. But that is not what the council understood was going to happen. Now, in these oral interviews, further questions were asked to determine what the proposals really said. Now, Ms. Steele, you said that you guys went through an evaluation process when you just read the proposals, and then you determined what questions you wanted to ask. What would that evaluation process tell you when you just read the proposals?
Do you want to be more specific?
Well, your first phase is, I think, what the council thought was going to happen. Where we are now asking concerns is because you made a decision not to tape the oral part. You made a decision to go through the oral part. That was basically not what our understanding was going to be. And now that's what we're saying, things could have changed. And because of those things, this process was tainted. That's what we're saying. We were under the understanding you were going to review the proposals, based on that, make a recommendation to the council.
We were told that we were going to read the proposals and do an oral interview process.
By who?
By CDD and the city attorney.
Okay. The city attorney then told you that you were going to do oral interviews.
Yes.
Is that true, city attorney?
It's my understanding that the city attorney's office advised that oral interviews were permissible.
Were permissible. You did not tell him to do it.
No.
No. That's where the question lies. Now, members of the council, no matter what we argue, this process is tainted. And from my perspective, it goes against what we're trying to establish when we talk about credibility.
All right, Mr. Alatorre.
I'd like to move, as much as it's district, that we throw this recommendation out, that we adhere to, I just move that the recommendation be thrown out, that you go back and do what it is. And I'm not saying you, I think others should do it, and that can be decided as to who should be on the evaluation panel. But it be evaluated and be sent back to us within 30 days.
Mr. Fuhr.
I move the previous question.
Okay, we have the previous question. Prepare the roll on the previous question. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, we have, that is approved. The debate is closed. We have the motion by Mr. Alatorre to refer this back to committee.
Ask for an aye vote.
Ask for an aye vote.
Ask for an aye vote.
All right.
Wait a minute, if there's a, please, point of order.
Is his motion to refer it back to committee, or is his vote to throw it out and
No,
refer it back?
To refer it back to committee.
Refer back to committee for the purposes of
Clear the,
For the purpose of what? I thought I
Clear
heard
the
him say
board.
the words throwing it out before.
No, throw out the
I need to
recommendation.
know exactly what the motion is.
To move, to send back to committee so that it can be, a reevaluation can take place.
By the committee?
A reevaluation of what?
Reevaluation of the
Proposals without
proposals.
the oral interviews.
The same thing that they should have done the first time.
So then it should, so in effect, you have to
All
throw
right.
out the recommendations that's made at this point, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, all right.
all right, prepare the roll.
I urge a no vote.
Ask for an aye
Ask for an
vote.
aye vote.
Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
7 ayes, 6 noes.
That failed.
Fine.
Now we
Ask for a
have,
no vote.
we have the,
We're asking for a no vote.
I'm going to
on the
ask for a no
recommendation.
vote.
we have the motion before us. Prepare the roll.
Asking for
Urge an
no
aye
vote on
vote.
the recommendation.
Ask for a no vote.
Urge an
No
aye
vote.
vote.
Prepare the roll.
Ask for a no
Tabulate the
vote.
vote.
7 ayes, 6 noes.
Thank you.
Okay, that fails, so the matter will remain on the agenda, I guess, until,
Okay.
next item.
Item number 14 is on the desk, Mr. President.
Mr., did we get the answer on that, on 14, Ms. Goldberg?
It's located in Oakland. The only reason I asked is because we were given in committee a very large amount of information about this firm, but no place about location, and I would just request that in future reports, because some constituent tried to make an issue out of it, that we at least have the information about where companies are located that are getting contracts, so that we don't end up with it, make someone thinking that there's some vast conspiracy, which there wasn't. So yes, the item can go forward.
Okay, all right. Prepare the roll on 14. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Mr. Alatorre?
Mr. President, I'd like to have Ms. Chick. Where are you? Right here. As is customary at the end of, as Ms. Goldberg has done and as I am doing, I'm passing on this cross that was used by the eminent, one of the greatest labor leaders, great humanitarian, Cesar Chavez, when he fasted. And this is, I'd like to turn this over to Laura Chick. And it is a fast and an attempt to get justice for the workers at the University of Southern California, my alma mater and the alma mater of several members here, that unfortunately have seen it upon themselves not to provide the kind of equity and justice that these employees justifiably deserve in their attempt to organize and not be mistreated and not be used in a manner that other workers have been given certain rights and privileges. So I turn this over to Laura Chick to fast between now and tomorrow, and this will keep on going until there is justice and equity for the workers at the University of Southern California. And the struggle has been going on for years, and the struggle will continue to go on until justice prevails for the workers at the University of Southern California.
I accept this with honor and the deepest respect for those workers who are fighting this good fight. And while I recognize that USC does many things to be a good employer, to step forward and find a way to create a worker retention policy similar to that of the city for the workers that are on the lowest rung of the ladder, I think is eminently doable, and it's for that reason that I'm joining my other colleagues in this symbolic and very meaningful gesture. And tomorrow at 11, Councilman Mike Hernandez and I will figure out, in the absence of a council meeting, some place to meet where I can pass this on to him. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, while we, let's hear from Paulina Gonzalez. Come on, Pauline, we don't have...
Well, my name is not Paulina, my name is Lydian Diaz, and this is my son, and I just want to thank them for what they're doing, for all the help they're giving us, and I just want to thank them. This is a lot of help for us. Thank you. Thank you for my son, too, and for everything. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. All right, Larry Ross. That's all right, leave it alone, I got it.
My name is Larry Ross. Since I know I won't have enough time to go through it all, so I'm trying to hit the main parts here today. I will begin by saying that my thoughts and my privacy has been invaded by various ones. In the process, ideas, works, and projects has been ripped off. Included are the new system of writings and languages created by myself. But I give all glory to the Most High God. Included also are the projects created while I was falsely incarcerated at MDC and FMC, which includes the JG's, Jasmine, and J-Guy projects, among others. Also, false intrusions, sleep intrusions, memory rape and tampering, memory deletions, and mind images generated. Interferences with the family relationships, which includes my sons, my mother, my brothers, my aunts, etc., and etc. Interferences with the practice of religious worship, interferences with the religious practice of prayer, sudden sleep attacks, interferences with the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, intentional being exposed to the harsh weather environment, especially last night, intentionally trying to induce stress and mental anguish or trauma, intentionally trying to destroy the quality of life and health of minds, intentionally subject to artificial and natural created cold environments, intentional and continuous efforts to cause disfigurement and permanent damages, which I may mention on before, intentional and internal induced bleeding and mayhem caused by means of their toys or playthings. The government sanctions the selling of defective products to me. The government sanctioned the selling of dangerous defective products, fraud. The government sanctioned the spying and the dissemination of defamatory materials or lies on me. The government sanctions the infringements or encroachments upon the ideas, works, and projects of mine, Operation Wait and Take. The government sanctioned intentional design to destroy and damage the speaking and singing voices of mine. And the list can go on and on and on, but I chose to stop here. Now I'm going to name some of the perpetrators in this conspiracy. The city council members, the board of supervisors, Clinton and Wilson, but most especially the banner under which they have all gathered at, the KKK. Added in these abuses of what took place on 11/26/98 in Hollywood, California. As I sat at a bus bench, I was placed in a chokehold by no less than a security personnel. On May 10th, 99, as I sat at the bus bench, someone drove up in a van, a white van, and threw a watery liquid on me. As I sat at El Polo Loco on 5/8/99, I was approached by a person who identified himself as being an Inglewood police officer. And he said that he was told by management that I had to leave from there because I had been there since morning. But in actuality, I had only been there for about an hour, not more than an hour and a half. What was I doing? I was sitting there reading a textbook.
That yesterday, and
This information needs to be repeated because I always never get the opportunity to complete my thoughts.
Your time is up, and you know that you're only allowed 3 minutes, and you always take 5 or 7
I
minutes.
know one thing what the
All right,
Constitution
time is
says.
up.
The Constitution
Mr. Candido
says
Mars.
the Constitution says that I should have a place where I can come and voice my grievances
Mr. President,
with
Mr.
the
Ross.
government.
Mr. Ross.
That would indicate more than
Mr.
3
Ross.
minutes would be
No,
necessary.
we have our own rules. We don't have the Constitution of the United States doesn't provide rules here. You're out of order, please. Candido Mars.
Mr. President, I think it should, Mr. Ross, please. Mr. President, I think it should be stated that contrary to what some may think, and included in Mr. Ross, we are obviously listening to what he said in view of the fact that we know that he said it yesterday. Sometimes it is thought that we aren't listening, but indeed, we obviously are.
Yeah. Candido.
On item 18, which was about the Targeted Neighborhood Initiative, although I have the privilege and honor of living in Mr. Hal Bernson's district, I've been allowed to join Mrs. Cindy Miskowski's TNI, and I just wanted to thank you and your staff, Rosalind and Audrey. I'm from the 12th. I asked to be part of that TNI, and everything we've ever wanted or asked for, they've been there. And also the mayor. The mayor has been very kind. His deputy, Stacy Greenwood, has provided us with the information we needed. And the mayor even gave a $300 donation for the soccer league. So, Miss Miskowski, I'm going to give you a form, if I may, asking for a sponsorship from your office, because if the mayor can do it, I feel the council office should do it too. And, you know, this really bothers...
No
this really-
soliciting in the council.
Oh, is that
chamber,
soliciting,
please.
sir?
Yeah, no.
And
Okay.
if I may say one last thing, when people say that government is unresponsive, if I can go to another district and get involved, I just don't understand their cry that...
Thank you, Candido. The public hearing is closed. All right, Mr. Savornich, did you say?
As Mr. President, I'd like to ask that we take item special number 1 at this time, but I believe we have to vote on the findings. Can I speak to the findings first, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. On May 27th, it was disclosed that a $200,000 donation to the Yes on Prop 1 campaign was made from a Delaware corporation. This is the largest political contribution in the city's history. This motion asks that the Ethics Commission investigate and report back to the council on Friday. The council would need to make the findings that there is an immediate need to act, and the need to act arose after the posting of the agenda.
Okay, prepare the roll on the findings.
Can we speak to the findings first?
Prepare the roll on the findings.
I vote on the findings, please.
Prepare the roll on the findings. Tabulate the vote.
I vote on the
11
findings,
ayes,
please.
2 noes.
It's not open, John.
You're recorded as a no, Mr. Wax. You're recorded as a no. Okay. All right, we have the matter before us.
Mr. President?
Mr. Savornich.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Today before us is Special 1 that I'm sure some of you have some concerns, as I do, in regards to what happened on May 18th in the city. On May 18th, the Yes on 1 committee, the proponents of the charter, received the largest independent political contribution in the history of the city of Los Angeles, $200,000, from a corporation called DLO Corporation, located in the state of Delaware. Those of us who know how business is conducted across this nation and in the state know very well that if you have some proprietary information that you would like to keep close to your vest, you open your corporation in Delaware, because in Delaware, they have laws that protect some of the proprietary information that corporations have. One of the things to which we should all have concern, and the voters should know, who is trying to influence and who is contributing to probably one of the most important elections in each of our lifetimes. We all think that mayoral elections are important. We all think council elections are important. They are not as important as an election to determine what our city will be run like for the foreseeable future. For what we are voting on Tuesday is a new constitution, a new charter of the City of Los Angeles. Mr. President, this motion asks that the City Ethics Commission, the only instrument and the only tool at our disposal to gather information, to investigate what this corporation is and what type of business it conducts, what its assets and holdings are, who are the shareholders, what relationship this corporation has, who asked for the contribution, and most importantly, to find out if this contribution was legal. And how do I mean that? Mr. President, members of the council, if the majority of the shareholders of this corporation are not citizens of the United States of America, this is an illegal contribution. And so, Mr. President, members, I question an out-of-state corporation making the largest contribution in the history of our city when the issue is the charter of the City of Los Angeles. And no matter whether or not you think this charter is a good idea or whether or not you think this is a bad idea, the public has a right to know who is making the significant contributions in regards to the charter. Mr. President, members of the council, there may be some of you who will stand up and say that we should not use the Ethics Commission as the instrument to find out this information. Mr. President, members, we have no other instrument. This is the role of the Ethics Commission. This is what the Ethics Commission should do to see who indeed wants to influence the most important election in 75 years in the City of Los Angeles. Mr. President, members, I would ask for your aye vote. I think the public has a right to know who is making contributions in regards to this issue, because if indeed, for those of you who believe reform is the buzzword of the day, I can see no harm in us trying to find out, indeed, under the guise of reform, who is making contributions to change our city government. And I would ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Wax.
I think it's tragic to watch this council degrade itself in the way it has been doing in this battle over the charter. You know, who are we? Who is this council to tell the Ethics Commission to look into the ethics? You know, come on. Most of you here are usually the subject of an ethics investigation, let alone telling the Ethics Commission. If they want to do the Ethics Commission knows full well, the Ethics Commission knows full well how to investigate a violation of the law. You know, I've been burned by them before. Hal's been burned by them before. Believe me, they're not bashful. But for this city council to start telling the Ethics Commission that it should do its job when the Ethics Commission is always doing its job should just reveal the transparency. And the danger of this, members of council, for those of you supposed reformers who are going along with this, is you have no right to tell the Ethics Commission how to do its thing. You can't order them to report back to you in a certain time frame. You have no jurisdiction to do that. And if you try to interfere with an independent body that is to look over the morals and ethics of this government, then you are destroying the very instrument that it needs to retain its integrity. And how could you go along with that for some cheap, crummy little argument? You know, it's a one-day trick to get information, to get your attention on the $200,000 thing for Mr. Murdoch. And to get that little bit of publicity, you're willing to try to undermine the very integrity of the Ethics Commission itself. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Mr. Bernson.
Well, I hate to say this, but I think it's you that ought to be ashamed of yourself, making this kind of an emotional extravaganza of a request that I think is a legitimate request. The people of Los Angeles are entitled to know when a contribution of this size comes in from out of state. Don't you think that there's a right of the people to know at least where this money came from and what purpose it might influence? whether you're for the charter or you're against the charter. I would feel the same way if somebody made a $200,000 contribution. I wish they would, but we would disclose who the people are. They wouldn't be from outside the state. And I think that we're not ordering the Ethics Commission. We're asking the Ethics Commission to look into this. We only have a week, Joel. There is 1 week for this information to be brought forward, and it's pertinent to the situation. This is probably one of the most important decisions in voting the people of Los Angeles will ever have to make. And I think they're entitled to all the information that's available, and certainly a $200,000 contribution. I mean, that smacks of God knows what, and I think the people have a right to know.
Fuhrer?
As John and I, who may not agree on the charter, just shared, you have to have a sense of humor in this life. And nowhere does that admonition come in handier than in reviewing this motion, I gotta say. Mr. Savornich, the proponent of the motion, made clear that he's concerned about undue influence. However, to instruct the Ethics Commission on what it should be investigating, to me, is the epitome of undue influence by a body that has no business doing that. We're instructing them to investigate, we're directing them to report back, and so forth. There is, to my knowledge, no precedent for any action like this. There is, in fact, in the motion, no impropriety even alleged. It's a Delaware corporation. Oh my God, that's it. And when I look at this motion, what I see is simply a ploy. It's a ploy. It does, as Joel indicated, get a little bit of press, and it enables, I suppose, the opponents of charter reform to be able to say for a brief period of time, the proponents of charter reform are under Ethics Commission review. It is the cheapest trick employed by campaigns. It's no great surprise if you look at the manner in which much of this campaign has been conducted that we have stooped to this level. But I urge colleagues to look past the humor of the moment, hard as that may seem to be at this point, and reject the idea that this council should establish as precedent that somehow we have given to ourselves the authority to instruct the Ethics Commission what it ought to do. We shouldn't do it in this case, and we shouldn't do it ever.
Let's see, will the council come to order, please? I'm going to suggest that we change from move the report back, that we request that they change, request to report to Mike Fuhrer personally. Okay, is there no objections to changing those words? Mr. Hernandez, you have the floor.
I guess I've been waiting for a while to say this, and every now and then Mr. Wax needs to understand that acting's not his forte. I didn't see him nominated for an Oscar, and the realities are he does get emotional. But I questioned his emotions right now, just like I questioned Mr. Fuhrer's humor. I've never known him to be a comedian. But trying not to keep this personal, let me share with you what this is about. Because I think the voters have the right to know.
Mike, I think Fuhrer's always been a comedian.
Okay. But Mr. Benson, I honestly believe that the voters have the right to know who's trying to buy this election. And when we talk about charter reform, some people are actually hoping for a low voter turnout, and some people are actually hoping that a minority of people make that decision, and they're putting their money to basically do that. I'm putting money from my office holder account for that purpose. That came in donations of $500. Rupert Murdoch is not doing that. He's putting up hundreds of thousands of dollars. And see, I've always said part of the problem this mayor has is that he thinks he's rich enough to buy the city. And we can't put this city up for sale. And that's what this charter amendment's doing. That's what they're proposing, is to give the mayor more authority so that the few, the people of money, the people of great influence, can take over how the city's run. And those of us who are choosing to fight the charter amendment are doing it because we represent the constituents in our districts. The people who don't have the opportunity to put up those kinds of dollars to get their message across. And we have a responsibility. So yes, I think someone who gives $200,000 through a corporation in Delaware should be questioned. We should tell the public who they are. And that's what this is about.
Ms. Goldberg.
Keep on trying, Joe. Keep on trying. There's still hope for you.
Yeah, I think the impropriety would be if somebody instructed the Ethics Commission as to what their information ought to be, not asking them to do the investigation. I don't think there's anything improper. You know, if you take a look at the people who were here a minute ago from SC, I just calculated briefly, in 14 years, if they had no deductions taken from their salary, that would equal one check of $200,000 from a corporation in Delaware. $200,000 may not sound like a lot to those of us who deal every day in large amounts, but $200,000 to the people I represent is a lifetime of work. And they want to know, and I want to know, and I think it's appropriate to ask whether it's an appropriate contribution and what they're getting in return. And if there's not getting anything in return and they're just out of the generosity and bigness of their heart, fine, so be it. The investigation will show that. But I find it very difficult to understand why anyone would not be concerned enough to at least want to find out how this was done and why it, you know, I looked at the filings under other places where Mr. Murdoch has given money and he's never used DLO before. So why this time? What is DLO? I don't think that's an inappropriate question, and I'm a little concerned by the histrionics that have led to the response. If people would prefer requests to direct, I have no problem with that. When we start telling the Ethics Commission what its answers should be to our questions, now you got a problem. But I think it's wholly appropriate for us to ask the questions.
Ms. Galanter.
Well, as I understand the ethics law, anybody can ask the Ethics Commission to look into a problem. And what you have here is a group of us suggesting that we join with the many people who have asked the Ethics Commission in the past to look into a specific problem. It has nothing to do with telling them to do their job. Part of the way, actually, the Ethics Commission puts out material every election, and it says, if you think there's something funny going on, please bring it to our attention so that we can find out about it. So I'm also a little amused by the indignation from people who normally are very supportive of things like the Ethics Commission and its job. And I don't see what your problem should be. We can argue over the charter, and if we want to have a debate about that, it's actually not on the agenda at the moment, but I'd be delighted to participate. I think the question of who is contributing to campaigns is one that is receiving national attention these days. It's about time. It's received a lot of attention here in the city, and I'm appalled that anyone should say today that we should just turn our backs on that question.
Mr. Alatorre.
Question.
Please.
Withdraw.
Well, yeah, look at it, I'll withdraw.
Mr. Holden, you have the floor.
I'll stay within my, trust me, you'll be happy.
And the third thought, there'll be some changes around here. Mr. President, members, as a neutral party on this issue, I can't understand why anyone would not want to know that they can have openness in government and that the public has a right to know how we doing their business. The charter proposal is the heart, not just the blood and guts, but the heart of the city's Los Angeles operation. It tells us when to do something and how to do it. These are the guidelines, these are the rules that we have to abide by. And when someone is trying to change the rules and they're putting up $200,000 to influence that process, I see nothing wrong trying to find out why. each and every one of you from time to time, especially when you run for office against an opponent, you pick up the phone, you write a letter to the Ethics Commission saying, that guy's a crook. This guy has done that wrong. That guy has done that wrong. Now you're going to stand here, sit here today and say, you're holier than thou. I guess you are kind of hypocritical if that's the case. And I guess I'm independent. I make my statements sometimes. People don't like that, but that's the way it goes. I would say that, which I'm not running for citywide office, but if I were running for citywide office, the last thing I would do is close my eyes, plug up my ears, button my lip, when something like this is happening in the process in terms of a $200,000 contribution. And if one who runs for office citywide and did that, imagine the profile on the other side saying, my opponent covered their eyes, buttoned their lip, plugged their ears when something fishy was happening, $200,000 worth of it, and say, is this the kind of guy you want when corruption is creeping into our city and they're closing their eyes, buttoning their lips and so on? I don't think so. I think they could lose a lot of votes doing that. And so I think that when you start thinking about how somebody's going to campaign against you, you probably want to take another look at it. So for a neutral party, I just want to be open-minded about it.
Yeah, okay. We appreciate your neutrality. Mr. Kowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have seen our current mayor, when he's supporting something, sometimes consistent with the majority of the council and sometimes differently, raise significant amounts of money. Have other Delaware corporations contributed on issues like Prop K, like the public safety bond, like other issues? Yes, they have. First Interstate Bank is a Delaware-based corporation, have contributed rather significant amounts of money on other propositions in the city. One wonders and asks, who is this Delaware-based corporation? We picked up the paper today and found out it was Rupert Murdoch. I find it interesting. I mean, we've heard acting thrown out. We've heard humor introduced into this conversation. I'd like to introduce the issue of irony. The council is asking the Ethics Commission. The Ethics Commission was created by an independent commission who recommended a charter amendment for an Ethics Commission that this City Council would never have put on the ballot on its own. Very much where we are today on the independent commission of the charter reforms. I prefer that we keep the Ethics Commission independent. If someone on the council or any group of people on the council want to ask this question, a letter could have done it. I think that that's the appropriate method rather than a formal action of the City Council.
Mrs. Chick.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'm glad that my colleague who just spoke used the word irony. We've talked about, you know, I think looking like fools from someone who's been on the council so many years. I'm not sure I can count it, who's become an expert at stepping out of the body he's such an intimate part of, and in a demagogic way, accusing us all of looking badly. We have people who have talked about humor. I think it's ironic, however, that the person who ran for mayor on cleaning up City Hall from downtown lobbyists was a downtown lobbyist himself, that the same rhetoric is being used in the ads for charter reform. Vote for charter reform and get rid of downtown lobbyists. I don't know what element is in the charter that does that or why it should, but this mayor has more downtown lobbyists serving on commissions in the city than certainly any other mayor has ever had. I think it's ironic that some of the rhetoric about charter reform talks about creating accountability, when the easiest way to claim and create accountability is for the mayor of this city to own accountability, rather than name-calling, pointing fingers, insulting, quote, faceless bureaucrats, unquote, and manipulating issues as important as potentially saving $8 million to look at a 911 relocation as a way to advance charter reform on disingenuous, dishonest rhetoric. I have been always a proponent of this city needing sensible charter reform. And quite frankly, colleagues, if we had been allowed to proceed with our very talented appointed charter commission, we would have had an excellent package of charter reform needed on the ballot that would have had every chance of passing and that we would have supported. The same man that accused us of manipulating and owning, and we shouldn't be allowed to just have our wonderful citizens on the appointed commission, financed, just as he did term limits, financed an elected charter commission. And when that election couldn't be controlled by that person, he cajoled, he lobbied, he bullied, he bribed, he endorsed, until finally at the end, he owned enough votes on that elected charter commission to make last-minute changes that I think seriously damaged and flawed the proposal that's on the ballot. That my colleague, Mr. Zvornich, is asking for clarifying information. Perhaps it could have been done in a letter. But seeing as how there is so much dishonesty and rhetoric and manipulation and buying, I'm going to vote for this just to get the information to come forward fast, the truth.
Thank you. Let me point out, if we'd asked for by letter, it took them 4 years to look at my last campaign to find something wrong. 4 years. Now, we could wait 4 years, Joel, for this, and Mr. Ridley Thomas, you have the...
Previous question, Mr. President.
Mr. Ridley Thomas moves the previous question. Prepare the roll on the previous question.
no vote.
Okay, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote. It's not going to pass.
5 ayes, 8 noes.
All right, Mr. Zvornich, I think you have the floor next.
Mr. President, members of the council, never did I think that asking for information would cause such a stir in the city council. One of the things to which I also have a problem is that I think we keep missing the point of what we are trying to get to today.
Laura?
And I'm going to repeat a couple of things that I said in my earlier comments. Number one, if this indeed was meant to be a contribution to which openness was going to be the motive, then that contribution could have been made in that light. What I find is ironic also that some of us around the horseshoe that thought it was good government to find out who was behind the secession movement in regards to who contributed was a step in the right direction, but trying to find the same information in regards to a $200,000 contribution is not a step in the right direction. The people have a right to know who is trying to influence the most important election in their lifetime if they are a resident of the city of Los Angeles. They have a right to know that information. Nothing more, nothing less. And for those of you who feel that the city council as an entity cannot request a city agency, in this case the Ethics Commission, to find this information out, would you rather have us amend the motion to have the city attorney's office do it? We'd be happy to do that. But it's the Ethics Commission that is in charge of these types of inquiries. And just as simply as a citizen writing a letter to the Ethics Commission asking them to act, a majority of the council today will ask them to do the same. But what is different, members, is time is of the essence. We need to know immediately because the election is less than a week away. And to those charges about the irony of this body making this type of request, I believe this is what the public looks us to do. They look towards our leadership that if we smell something sour, that we make it public. I would hate to think this is a preview of how our city government would run if this charter passes. Do you mean to tell me that someone can contribute $200,000 to changing the constitution of this city and the people don't have a right to know who's behind it? Of course they do. Of course they do. So, Mr. President, members of the council, even those of you who feel in your heart that you have to support this document, can't believe in your heart that the public doesn't have a right to know all of the information that we're asking in this motion, I would ask for your aye vote.
Mr. President and members, it's outrageous, some of the comments that are made by some members trying to be above the fray. And I'm sure if it would have happened in reversal, these comments would have been appropriate. And, it's too bad that we have gotten to this, but this is what happens when we begin to tear the very institution that we happen to be a part of. You have to expect that it's going to be torn, and it might be torn against you the next time. But I don't see anything that's inappropriate about asking a question, whether we know what the answer is or not. We still have that right. And if 8 people feel that we have that right, then so be it. But allow for that to happen. Don't be making these self-righteous proclamations that at least one member has made about this entire process. Because it doesn't necessarily work that, we are just so almighty that we happen to be different. I mean, I can talk about some of the self-righteous comments that were made during the budget and everything else. But, let us either decide to vote for this, and let's put an end to it, and let us move on. If there's 8 votes, there's 8 votes. If there isn't, then it's not going to happen.
Ms. Goldberg? Mr. Hernandez wants to be heard.
Members of the council, I want to be heard because, this discussion's happened. One, there shouldn't be any misrepresentations. One of my colleagues said that the mayor helped Prop K, and I need to share with you that the mayor did not give a penny to Prop K, nor did any of his colleagues. I'm willing to bet that very few people who are fighting proposition or endorsing Prop 1 with financial support gave money to Prop K, because Prop K raised $68,000. But it still passed. The people were allowed to make a decision without the influence of the kind of money that's going into this issue. And I think that's important, but we shouldn't misrepresent the mayor's role there, because he supported it, but he didn't put no money into it. And then this one, apparently he's making sure money gets put into it. I also think that it's important for the constituents in my district to understand that Rupert Murdoch is putting up $200,000, if that's what DOL is. And it's because Dodger Stadium is in the heart of my district. It's surrounded by Elysian Heights, it's surrounded by Echo Park, it's surrounded by Solano Avenue, and those communities are very concerned about what the future calls for in terms of decision making. And it's important that they know where the money's coming for Prop 1. I think that that's what financial disclosure is about. And the problem with high-paid attorneys is they figure out how to get around things. And when Mr. Warlaw makes statements that he doesn't think there's any sinister conspiracy going on here, let's understand that the only thing that's going on is a lot of people are putting up big bucks to try and change the way this city is going to be run from now on. From my perspective, I think we are taking the appropriate action in trying to make sure that full disclosure happens in this election.
Mr. Ridley Thomas?
Mr. President, the previous question, please.
Yeah, no one else wants to be heard, so I'm going to say that the previous question has been approved.
You're a good presiding
That's the first unanimous vote you've had, Mark, in a long time.
Thank you so much. On the
Okay,
charter.
prepare the roll on the special one.
I vote.
Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes, 3 noes.
That is approved. Okay, the next item.
Item-
Of course, forthwith on that.
Item number 27, called special by Councilmember Chick.
Mrs. Chick, you called 27 question.
Yes. Well, in light of
calmed
in
Speak again, We don't
No,
know if we
it's-
want you to speak today.
this is a neutral subject, although I do feel passionately about it, and I think so do you, Mr. Ridley Thomas, because my colleague and I have both been hard at work trying to create a citywide toll-free number, an information line where people can call to one central place and have their questions answered and their requests for service taken, and including to be used and accessed by the internet. The motion that's before us today goes one step further. I saw over the weekend on the news that we will now be able to watch first-rate movies on our computer screens, and it seems to me, judging by what we just had here, that this could be a first-rate drama as well. And in our quest to continue to bring the public closer to us and ourselves closer to the public, colleagues, I ask for your unanimous support to now create the ability for both committee meetings and council sessions to be very simply accessed on the internet so people can sit and watch us live. We've got a lot of people in the city who don't have cable TV and who aren't able to tune into Channel 35. This just spreads the good word and helps people to understand what we're all about and our good work. Thank you.
Mr. President, we're becoming state-of-the-art with respect to making information available to all the citizenry of Los Angeles and beyond, and I seconded this motion and would wholeheartedly encourage our unanimous adoption of the same.
Okay, does that mean that Delaware could call in and get the information?
It does.
Okay.
It does indeed.
Okay, prepare the roll on 27. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
What's not on the board?
Yeah, it's passed. It's
I
already
just want to know how much it's going to cost to institute the equipment.
Yeah.
That's significant.
No, well, we'll have to worry about that later.
Oh, okay.
Next item.
Motions for posting and referral.
There's no objections, unanimous vote.
That clears the desk, Mr. President.
That clears the desk. We have adjourning motions. Would everyone please stand? I'm going to move that we adjourn in memory of Edward H. Fickett, who is an architect, who was fourth generation Angelino. He was noted architect and recipient of numerous architectural awards. His noteworthy design of the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas and the Bistro Gardens in Beverly Hills. I'd ask we adjourn in his memory. He leaves his wife, Joyce.
Can I be a co-presenter, please, on that?
Any others? Mr. Hernandez?
Mr. President, members of council, I'm going to ask that all members join me in this adjournment. I'm asking us to adjourn in the name of Susie Ferran. She was visiting her family here from Candle Lakes, Florida, and she basically died on Tuesday, June 1st. Mrs. Ferran leaves 6 children, Reina, Jeff, Ivania, Philip, Jacob, and Jorge Luis. And the reason I'm asking that all members join us is Ivania works for the CLA's office, and we all know her. She's the liaison with the Community Development Committee. And this was just something sudden. Her mom comes to visit the family over Memorial Day, get the stomach aneurysm, and is dead. It's a complete surprise. So.
Call the roll. Aye, the council is adjourned.